Jag har nu startat inspelning också. The recording is now started. And hello and welcome to 1450 of the series. And we are currently going through the article by Hans Ruin, Circumcising the Word, Derrida as Reader of Paul. We left off at page 87, the last paragraph, beginning with following Celan. I will just pour myself a cup of cha. Following Celan's own remark in his Meridian lecture, which declare that every poet is a Jew. Derrida writes that in some sense, the Jew is found in every human being circumcised by language, or called to circumcise a language. Derrida's point here brings out a dialectic of particular and universal. Which resonates in profound ways with how the logic of circumcision operates in Paul. To be circumcised by language is to be part of language. There is no way to have a language without also being circumcised by that language. In the sense of having one's body shaped by particular practice. By shaping the body, its vocal organs, and its gestures, as well as its cognitive organs. Language guarantees the individual its participation in a specific community. Yet in doing so, it also brings about the exclusion from other possible communities. This is what it means This is what it means when he says that to be part of language is also to be circumcised by language. After having first been circumcised by language, there is also the possibility of performing a circumcision on language. When Derrida elaborates the metaphor in this direction, he is referring to the impulse of making one's language into one's own. Of bending and marking the general and shared medium of language so as to make it speak from within the unique circle of one's singular experience. This aspiration takes place in the most paradigmatic form in the work of the poet. But the poet is here also a universal witness of a human predicament. In which we are always both shaped by our language and called to shape it. Yet this human universal predicament cannot be equated with a simple generality applicable to everyone. And listen now, this is great, my comment. It is universal in being singular, and in its singularity, it is universal. Very much to the point. And we've gone through this before, and it is absolutely vital to have this in one's understanding. It's only from the singularity that the universal can come. And there is no generality or universality to be had in a collection, in a group, or a Bertrand Russellian set or something similar. In that, there is no universality. This is the logic that Derrida brings out from his reading of Celan's poetry. And which he chooses to stage in the form of a discourse on circumcision. His only explicit mention of Paul here is the remark that it is not only in Paul that we find the metaphorical use of circumcision. But the presence of Paul and his new universalism is everywhere in this argument. For Paul, the idea of the circumcised heart and soul opens the possibility of a new shape of humanity, where the previous particular community is expanded and open up towards a limitless universality accessible to everyone. This Greek and Stoic element in Paul, which he combines in such an effective way with Jewish messianism, creates the conceptual space for Christianity as a potentially limitless universal community and communication. And thus the thus the idea of global circumcised subject nota bene, subject here. In his reflection on circumcision, Derrida can also be said to seek the articulation of a universal human predicament. Still, he performs it through an implicit and subtle reversal of the Pauline metaphorical logic. According to Paul, the singular event of Christ opens the possibility of a universal community of circumcised subjects. For Derrida, the circumcision of the subject has always already taken place. As the creation of an inside and outside. I reread this because this is very, very, I want great importance to this feature. For Derrida, the circumcision of the subject has always already taken place as the creation of an inside and an outside, of belonging and exclusion. This is how the subject comes to fore. It is the creation of the inside and an outside, interiority and exteriority, my comment here. This is where it starts. This is the start of the movement. Before that, there is neither object nor subject. This is the important part of the creative act, the very act of creation itself. This is the doubling of the Klein bottle when it goes into itself and from being contained becoming uncontained, thereby creating a reversal. The reversal process is the movement itself. Yet in this universal and at the same time always singular predicament, there lies a possibility of global recognition. So in what is always singular, one contained going into the Klein bottle being uncontained, one finger touching the other hand. The one is what makes up the universal. It is then not the recognition of a global sameness. Are being part of one singular humanity, but the recognition of how in our universality we are singular, or to use a phrase later coined by Derrida's close friend and interlocutor Jean-Luc Nancy, being singular plural. It would, however, be misleading to characterize Derrida's position as an argument in favor of a certain liberalism opposed to a Paulian communism. Derrida does not build his argument on the basis of an abstract reference to personhood or individuality, or even less so to universal human rights, as in the traditional liberalism. His concept of the singular here is more complex, as he understands the individual as constituted in the very intersection of belonging and exclusion. An intersection that is thus polemic and violent from the very start. So without exclusion, there is no wholeness or universality, my comment here. And in the very intersection of belonging and exclusion, there you find everything. And I come to think of the Heraclitean War and Peace being the same, but also different. And as is written here, it is violent from the very start. Paul's logic of circumcision is metaphysical in the sense that it places its hope in a final transcendence of all strife, in a perfect unified humanity under God. In its place, Derrida opts for a solution that does not claim to be entirely outside violence. But one that opts for the lesser violence. To recall again his early essay on Levinas and Heidegger. In commenting on Celan's imperative to circumcise the word, Derrida brings out the sad beauty of this logic, and as it lets us experience that also in the most intimate and profound moment of communication. There's also always a necessity of doing violence, of creating circles, of establishing limits. To criticize the potential and real violence in metaphysical and Pauline Christian universalism is, of course, not unique to Derrida. But what makes him into such a uniquely relevant writer in this particular context is the fact that he performs this critical and deconstructive argument explicitly through a rehearsal. Through a rehearsal of the very same metaphorical and thematic resources, that of circumcision, by means of which Paul first forges his concept of a new universalism. No time for a summary there. And as we talked previous times before from different authors and even from urology, as I will try to stretch this as far as I can, David Barder shows that the singularity of the cerebellum, which is the only thing on the brain that is unique, one apart from the amygdala and the hypophyse. That uniqueness is important in the plurality of our frontal cortex. We have many times seen the connection between what is singular and what is universal, and how universality, globalism, can be gained by taking in the singular, focusing in on it. And this is, of course, very far from the previously mentioned 2.5 kid, which is the normal or common way of looking at universalism and globalism. In this part of the chapter is often also quite strongly pointed to the necessity of exclusion to have globalism and to have understanding. Excluding is what builds commonality and brings in going from the contained to the uncontained in the Klein bottle, but it is also the very movement in the lemming's gait. You can also see the plurality in quantum mechanics as the wave. The wave is global, it's everywhere and therefore global. The particle is in one place, that it is what to be a particle, to be placed in one singular place and not 2, 3, 4, or all places. It is everywhere at the very same time as it's in one particular spot. We have previously mentioned that the globality of the wave is what makes particularity possible. In the normal logic, that is an impossibility. You can also see the circumcision to be a sort of an entry ticket, and I think here you can parallel it with the shibboleth, correctly pronounced, of course. An entry ticket to a more global religion, the Pauline Christianity, as compared to the more excluded Judaism. And I think even today, Judaism is a rather small confessional sect. I think it's about 15 million. Not to prove the point, but it goes to show by not excluding, you become less global. And this is this oddity at the kernel of reality, the very inside, so to speak, or essence. I would use the word foundational, not to confuse the terms. Now we see here if there are any comments. Getting a bit chilly. Yes, of course. Exclusion is always compared with inclusion. They are the same in the Klein bottle. Exclusion is total in the Klein bottle, but inclusion is also total. And the movement in between the two, there is actually a movement that develops. That is the movement of the lemon skate. So the inclusion and the exclusion not being able to be simultaneously present are simultaneously present within the movement. It leaves a trace, yes, definitely. It leaves a trace in the form of the space contained. The roundedness. That is actually a spiral, but let's not go into that now. Yes, we need a circumcision of hearts. That is a universalism, a community of all people. Yet circumcision means a cut, but it is at the same time that which creates wholeness, definitely. Yeah, it's excellent, very good. Is exactly what it's about. I think that was a really good summary, Kalle. Thank you very much. And since it's getting a bit chilly here, and I think we're approaching 1 hour, are there any more questions or comments? Well done. No, I will not. Thank you very much for your patience in this very interesting subchapter in Hans Riehn's excellent article. Do take care and have a very pleasant night. Bye bye for now.